So much information that we get about Israel comes through the media. The problem is the media is not always objective in the viewpoint they give forward. The question is, why does this happen? I think there's a few reasons why media bias against Israel occurs. First of all is the classic David versus Goliath scenario. The Palestinians have done a very good job painting themselves as the underdogs. Any person who looks at a situation with an underdog on one side and the person who's supposed to win on the other side roots for the underdog. So many people who see the Palestinians as the underdog, the poor people who cannot defend themselves against the giant Israeli army, root for the Palestinians and automatically want to take their side. Second reason why there's media bias against Israel is the fact that Israel is a democracy fighting against totalitarian regimes. When you ask an Israeli for their opinion, you'll get a very different opinion than their friend will give you. Unfortunately, even in the Israeli government, this occurs as well. The Prime Minister's office, the Foreign Ministry's office, the Israeli Defense Forces all give their own opinions, and often they don't match together. Israel is a democracy and has very many opinions and can't always control the message that comes out. But when it comes to the Palestinians and other Arab nations, they are totalitarian regimes. There's only one message that comes out, and this message obviously is always to blame Israel. So when the media gets one message from one side, the totalitarian Arab side, which is obviously anti-Israel, they can always find an opinion, even on the Israeli side, that is often anti-Israel as well. So this often leads to a distortion of a balanced reporting. The third reason I think there's media bias is clearly that there's a double standard held against Israel. While there are terrible atrocities happening around the world, very little attention, media attention is given to them. But yet Israel, this tiny little place, the smallest thing can happen in the middle of Gaza, and the entire media world is focused on it. In fact, I've heard the statistic that there are more foreign journalists in the Jerusalem area in Israel than any other place in the world. There's a super focus on Israel, and unfortunately Israel is held to a higher standard. The question is, should Israel be held to a higher standard? Obviously, on one hand, they shouldn't. Israel can be seen as a country like any other. Israel is a place that, of course, needs to be held to a certain moral standard, but it shouldn't be different than any other country. On the other hand, we have to realize as Jews, our job is to be held to a higher standard. We are supposed to be a light unto the nations. We are supposed to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Maybe we shouldn't just give in when the world holds us to a double standard and treats us unfairly, but certainly for ourselves, we have to realize that this is a symbol that we as Jews are supposed to hold a very special place in this world, that we're supposed to hold ourselves to a higher standard, a higher moral standard, and live up to it. As a side point, when we talk about media bias, we shouldn't feel despair. We should know that there have been people who have fought back against the media bias against Israel. People have organized, people have shown that the media is biased, have educated people. One such organization, honestreporting.com, now sends out emails talking about media bias to Israel to over 100,000 people on a weekly basis. It's important to know that we can do something. If you see media bias, you shouldn't just stand back. You should tell your friends about it. You should send out emails. You should write letters to the newspaper that did this. We shouldn't stand back because we can make a big difference.